Hi, I'm Benita Hutchison, your psychic life and business coach. Today, I want to tell you about my two upcoming workshops, which will be on September 7th at my office at 418 Fitzwilliam in the Old City Quarter of Nanaimo. Now, these workshops work really well together, so you can spend a whole day in self-discovery or choose the morning or the afternoon one. The one goes from 9 to noon, the other from 1 to 4. And the first workshop is called How to Be Bad, Break the Rules, and Move On to Your Real Life. So what do I mean by that? BAD is an acronym to be bold, assertive, and decisive. If you grew up being taught to be good, to behave, to get along, to fit into your family, then there's a pretty good chance that you have suppressed some parts of yourself in order to fit into the paradigm in which you were born. Now, I'm a firm believer that we are born to the people who plant the seeds for the things we came to work on in this lifetime. So that means that we're supposed to take whatever we were raised in, whatever that egg was, and eventually crack out of it into a more expansive life. Say, for example, you had a natural exuberance as a child. Maybe you were loud, you were flamboyant, and you grew up in a very quiet family that said, shh, be quiet, fit within this paradigm, don't color outside these lines. Eventually, you would learn to suppress that part of yourself, see it as shadow, which means you learn to see it as a negative part of yourself. And you might have even suppressed it so far that you forgot that part of yourself. You forgot your natural exuberance, your joie de vivre, your love of life. Or maybe it was about being able to set boundaries, being able to say no to things that didn't feel right for you. And this carries forward into our adult lives where we make choices that aren't right for us. We go along with things that don't work for us in order to get along. And it's interfering with our actual path, the path our soul chose. So in this workshop, we're going to explore, and my workshops are not about me talking at you. They're about you doing concrete exercises, going to explore those aspects of yourself that you learn to suppress. You're going to find that boldness in you, that assertiveness, that decisiveness, that ability to say, I'm going for this. This matters to me, and I'm going to make it happen in my life. So I really want to ignite you to find out who you really are and bring that energy forward into your life so that you have the life you were always meant to lead. Whether that's a life of adventure, whether it's being clear about the kind of relationships you want in your life, and you're willing then to take action to communicate that, to make better choices for yourself. It might translate into business, making decisions around career or building a business that work for you instead of against you. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be, I think, quite illuminating. I've done a lot of shadow work over the more than 4 decades that I've been doing this work. Shadow work on myself, shadow work with my clients, to help you awaken to your full potential, to the aspects of you that have been waiting off stage, waiting to be invited back into your life and be integrated, so you can really show up as you and live your life to the fullest. The second workshop in the afternoon is the story of you discovering yourself through intuitive writing. Now, I've been a writer my entire life. I published my first poetry at the age of 8. I grew up with writers. My father was an advertising executive, so I grew up seeing the storyboards before products went to market, before the commercials were on air. I learned about communicating ideas, winning people over to whatever the products were that were being sold. I also got to see some of the clunkers that didn't work the way they were supposed to. We were a bit of a test market in our home, and that was quite fun. And then my mother wrote Harlequin romances. So that's another completely different genre. But what I learned was that communication, writing, was a really important part of life. If we can't express our ideas, then they sit inside of us and they don't get to go anywhere. So I've been a poet my entire life. When I was a child, I used to walk through the woods and the muse would visit me and all this poetry would run through my head and I'd go home and write it down before the muse left. And I've been a published author. I've been a magazine editor and writer. I've been editor of a national business magazine. So I'm steeped in that. I was reading and writing at a grade 13 level in grade 4, which I don't think is about me being particularly bright, just what I was exposed to from a young age. We had an entire wall that was the works of the great authors, all of Alcott's work, all of Poe's, encyclopedia. So from the time I was 4 and I was encouraged to read, I was just steeped in words. However, one of the things I never got in school was learning how to write intuitively. Instead of writing what somebody's telling you to write, it's letting your natural storyteller, your internal writer, your author, come out and communicate. Writing, if you learn how to do it in this intuitive way, is channeling. It's getting out of the way and allowing your natural writer to come through. And we've seen that in some really interesting works. There was a book that came out, a fictional book, called The Sinking of the Titan. And it was published 15 years before the sinking of the Titanic. And even though it was fiction, the story was a really accurate account of the sinking of the Titanic. Time's not linear. You can tap into the universal now and pick up information about big events before they happen in the linear timeline. So what's inside of you that wants to communicate with you? What is your story that your inner wisdom wants you to know? Again, in this workshop, it's going to be through a series of exercises. And I've gone into high schools and taught these exercises. Some of the work is based on Gabrielle Rico's book, Writing on the Right Side of the Brain. Some of them are ideas I've come up with. What I want to help you do is first free the inner writer in you. Get out of your own way. Get out of the critic that we develop when we're in school, where we worry so much about how we're putting the words together that we choke off the natural flow of those words, and get back to just stepping back and letting your inner storyteller come out and tell you the story of you that you might never have heard before, because it's been inside you waiting to come out, waiting for you to notice that you don't consciously have all the information about your life that's residing within you, because maybe you haven't known how to get that out. I've been a channeler all of my life, and I've held groups where my channeling group, my soul group, has come out and communicated to people and answered their questions. But this is something we're all capable of. We're all capable of getting the answers within ourselves, and writing is one of the ways those answers can come out. That it helps to get some guidance, it helps to get some structure, not to worry so much about the language and the structure of what comes out, but the structure of what's inside of you that wants to be heard, that wants to lead you in a new direction, wants to point out to you what's not working in your life. I'm reminded of a story where this woman was in a relationship and she wasn't consciously allowing herself to acknowledge that it wasn't working for her. But this song started playing in her head, Roy Orbison's song, where he goes, "It's over, it's over, it's over." Sometimes we get our messages through dreams, sometimes through something running through our heads, a song or a line from a play that we just can't get out of our heads. That's that inner voice trying to communicate with you. So when you actively invite it forward, you've got so much more information to work with. And really, that's what wisdom is. We grasp for knowledge, we receive wisdom. So when we allow ourselves, when we create those channels to let that wisdom come through, we're operating basically with more cards in our deck, more parts of us sitting around the table, communicating our needs and giving us greater awareness. And really, that's, in my opinion, what enlightenment is. There's more of you conscious, weighing in on your decision making and helping you go in the direction you were always meant to go. So if you find in your life you don't feel like you're meeting your full potential, there's areas of your life where something doesn't feel right, it doesn't seem to fit, and you're not sure how to get beyond that and move in the direction you're really meant to go, or maybe you're not sure what your purpose is or even what direction to take. Maybe you're not even sure who you are. You're in that lost state, that state before realization. Then these workshops are for you. I hope you'll join me. I am working with a small group. There are only 15 seats because I want to make sure everybody gets personal attention and that you're supported through the process. So if this interests you, I will leave the links with this video, and I look forward to seeing you in September.